everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of Devoted to Her. I am your host, Samantha Jade Minor, but we're all friends here, so you can call me Sam. This episode is mainly about the way God redirects our paths, the way He takes us from one point, picks us up, and places us in another. It seems like so many years ago, well, it kind of was, but it seems like a lifetime ago when I was a model. I started out modeling. I was in a dangerously abusive relationship. Coming out of that, I guess you could say I was gaining my confidence back. So I started modeling. With that, I also changed my name and modeled under a different name because I just really wanted to kind of separate myself and my past. Fast forward, I became best friends with a clothing designer. He taught me everything he knew and I helped him with his business. That made me realize I don't think I want to be the model on the runway anymore. I want to be the designer behind the scenes. And that's when I started my clothing line. I had my clothing line, this was in Arizona, so keep up. So this was in Arizona. I had my clothing line, and after getting married, we moved to my new husband and my kids and I moved to Florida. Well, that marriage was trash. I hate to say it, but that's what it was. So I went from one bad relationship to another, and it just, life was lifing. During that time, I was still focused on the clothing line. I also decided that I got my cosmetology license back a lot of years ago, but I didn't enjoy doing hair. I did, however, enjoy makeup. I enjoyed makeup so much. So while still working on the clothing line, I became a full-time makeup artist. Doing the clothing line, I didn't feel fulfilled. I realized that I was kind of doing it for the wrong reasons. I just had this, because life had been so crummy, I felt like I needed to be in the public eye. I needed that attention on me. It was all me, me, me. When I was modeling, it was me, me, me. When I had the clothing line, it was me, me, me. But as I became a full-time makeup artist and I started working with all these amazing women and doing makeup on just such beautiful women, and I mean beautiful on the inside as well as the outside, I started also getting closer to God in this time. I wasn't fully walking with Him. I was what you would call a lukewarm Christian. No, it's not where it's at. But the thing that I noticed with all these women is that not all of them, but a lot of the women that I met and did makeup on, they had a lot of similar feelings, we'll say. They had low self-esteem, they were hurt, they had dealt with trauma, and pretty much all the things that I was dealing with, I'm doing makeup on the women that were feeling the same way I was feeling. And the thing that we also had in common was we felt if we put on makeup that we would cover up the hurt, we would cover up the pain. But really, it was putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. At this time, I do believe, by the time I was doing makeup full-time, I had already started going to therapy. I had been in therapy for about 2.5 years by the time I started doing makeup. So I could see really what was going on with these women as I listened to them and did their makeup. And it was then that I realized I want to do more to help women, because that healing process is so, it's a hard thing to start. I even had one woman come in and we're talking one day, and she told me, she said, you don't have 7 kids and don't have stories to tell. Like, you have all this life that you've lived. You really need to be helping women. Like, you've got something in you to be able to help other women. And that always stuck with me in the back of my mind, because as these women would come in and I would do their makeup, and they would tell me about the abusive relationships, the marriages that they were stuck in, just how they wore makeup to sleep so they didn't have to wake up and try and recreate what I was doing on them, because they didn't want to see themselves without makeup. I'll never forget one woman that came in, and it was an early morning appointment, and she was just real jittery. And I needed to color match her for her foundation. And she's just like, I don't have time, just put anything on me, anything. And I literally asked her, are you okay? Is someone chasing you? And she said no, that she just didn't want anyone to see her without her makeup on. And I'm looking at her, and the things that she's pointing out that she sees are wrong with her, I don't see it. And it ended up, she just was so fearful that someone that she knew was going to come in and see her with no makeup on, that she just put something over her face and she ran out the door. You know, so the amount of women that I have come across and had the pleasure of doing their makeup, but they were hurting inside, the number, it's a pretty large number. There's women that I've met where they were mothers and got married and they lost themselves. A beautiful time was a mother came with her daughter, and at first I was a little upset with the mom because I felt like she was really pushing her daughter. And the mom was buying everything. You know, I'm trying on makeup on her daughter, testing things out, and I could see her eyes light up. But she kept saying, no, I don't have time. I said, you don't have time for eyeliner? She's like, no, I have to focus on my kids. And the thing is, her mom kept saying, no, just get it. So the mother and I were kind of bumping heads because I want to make the daughter happy because she's the one that has to wear the makeup. But then her mother pulled me aside and she told me, she's like, look, you know, she's going through a hard time. She used to be this gorgeous, exuberant cheerleader. She got married and had a kid, and she's miserable. And her mom just wanted to help her get a part of her life back that she had given up. And that was, like I say all the time, you can't pour from an empty cup. And when you look good, you feel good. And so her mom and I had talked for a moment, and I saw where she was coming from. I say all that to say, I found a different reason to enjoy doing makeup, because not only did I get to do makeup on these beautiful women, but I also got to hear their stories and learn about them. And I feel like that's where God placed me in that time, because he was going to move me forward completely away from what I thought I was meant to do, which was my clothing line. But again, the clothing line, it was all about me, you know? Because as a clothing designer, like, life is fun. You go to parties, you have fashion shows. There's stress. Don't get me wrong, there's stress. But here I was focused on the glitz and the glamour. And now my focus is not clothes, because my clothing manufacturer shut down in 2019. Matter of fact, yeah, in 2019, right before COVID, so it had nothing to do with the pandemic. But I was in a place where I was already trying to figure out what my next move was. Did I really want to be a clothing designer? Or did I want to do something that was more based on helping women? As I ended up being diagnosed with cancer, not once but twice, And I began mentoring women that have been newly diagnosed with cancer. Actually, a social worker at the cancer hospital had referred me to the companies that so I could be a mentor. And I just really realized that, and I believe I've said this before, not to offend anyone, but a lot of, not all, but a lot of cancer is caused by trauma, unresolved, unhealed trauma. So here I went from clothing designer, makeup artist, to a mentor and speaking at events about, God and health and wellness and healing trauma. It's amazing the path that God puts us on, or even I should say the path that we put ourselves on, and God just redirects us. Because of all the things that I've been through in my life, abusive relationships, abusive childhood, trauma, abandonment, rejection, you name it, I went through it. But the beautiful thing is I came out of all of it. And now what I want to do is help other women come out of it too. Because where you are is not where you have to be. If you're in a bad situation, or you don't see a future, you don't have hope, you gotta know that it's possible. I remember posting something on Instagram one day. It's a couple of years ago. If I do believe it said, what you're going through now, once you get through it, you'll have to use everything you learn to help the next person or the next people coming up behind you, to help them through it. And I believe that's what my purpose is. I believe that that's what my calling is, to be able to help women get through what they've been through, or get through what I've been through already. So I made that post on Instagram. It's probably about 3 years ago now, maybe longer. And this woman left me a comment, and she said, I hope that's true. And I said, I'm living proof that it's true. And she said, please explain. So I DM'd her, and I just shared briefly things that God has helped me overcome in life. And she began telling me her story, and it was crushing, because she was really going through something terrible. It was deceitful. It was just wrong what had happened to her, that at the hands of someone that she loved terribly. So we talked and we kept in touch for a while. And the best part is, this is why I love social media. Like, you don't really have to know the person to help them. And after a while, she started posting on social media again, and she was doing a lot better. So God will put us in the path of those that need our help, to help them through what we've already experienced. It's just we don't want to experience any of this stuff, because it's all hard. No one wants to suffer. No one wants to go through trauma. So it's a beautiful thing when we discover God, and we let him take the wheel and show us where we're going. Because I would have never in a million years thought that I could go from having low self-esteem, being abused, being abandoned, being rejected, and everything that I've been through in life. I would have never thought that I could talk to someone else about healing and how to heal. I would have never thought, because I'm gonna be honest, like I said, with the clothing line and makeup, when I got into it, it was, yeah, I said, oh yeah, I want to help women. Okay, that's fine, but we got to go deeper. We could put on the beautiful dresses and the makeup, but what's going on inside? What's really going on? Let's get to the root of the problem. And then we could look pretty. Then we could put on all the clothes and the makeup and do our hair all we want to. But we got to fix what's going on inside first. So I'm grateful that God showed me that. So now I could do my part in the world and be of service. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you are unsure about your direction in life, or if God is trying to steer you in another direction and you're not being obedient, like, take it to God in prayer. Ask him, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing? Ask him to reveal to you what your purpose is. Ask him to at least reveal the next step to you, whatever the case may be. Or if he's already told you to do something and you haven't been doing it, go back, and you feel he's not listening to you, go back to the last thing he told you to do, and then he'll probably give you the next step. But it starts with you having that conversation with God, being in the Word, and asking what you're supposed to be doing. I could have saved a lot of time and a lot of money not trying to be a clothing designer, but I was doing what I wanted to do. And the thing is, now that I've changed up my business so much, I'm actually happier now because I feel more fulfilled. I didn't feel fulfilled when I was doing the clothing line. I feel fulfilled now because I'm walking in my purpose. That's it for this episode. I really hope that you've made it to the end. If you have, please leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts, or ask any questions that you may have. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. No matter where you're listening to this at, if you're listening to it in podcast form on Apple Podcast or Spotify, please be sure to rate this podcast. And no matter where you're listening to it at or watching it from, please be sure to share with someone that you believe needs this. I will have all my social media links and website links in the description box below on YouTube, and in the show notes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else that I am. All right, until next time, as always, take care of you. Bye.